You know, sometimes a single moment, just one single question, can change the entire course of history. Well, today we're diving into one of those moments. It's a story of a queen's humiliation, a king's downfall, and a question that will ultimately trigger a catastrophic war. This is an absolutely pivotal scene from the ancient epic, the Mahabharata.
So we're jumping right into the middle of the crisis with this one question from a queen. And let me tell you, this isn't just any question. It's a bombshell that puts everything on trial. Law, morality, honor, you name it. And the fallout from this question, it's going to bring a kingdom to its knees.
Okay, so to really get what's happening to Queen Draupadi, we've got to rewind a little bit. It all starts with her husband, King Yudhishthira. See, he's been backed into a corner, lured into this massive, high-stakes game of dice. It's the kind of invitation he just can't refuse, but here's the kicker. The whole thing is rigged. It's a trap, and he's walking right into it.
And the people pulling the strings? Well, you've got his rival cousin, Duryodhana, and this master manipulator, Shakuni. They've got Yudhishthira completely trapped, and you just watch as it all unravels. First, he loses all his wealth, the jewels, the armies, everything. Then, his entire kingdom. It gets worse. He loses his 4 brothers, one by one. And then, he loses himself. He literally becomes a slave. You think it can't get any worse, right? Wrong. In one final, absolutely unthinkable move, he stakes his own wife, Draupadi, and loses.
So, can you imagine a servant is sent to fetch her, to drag her to the court like she's just another piece of property? But Draupadi? Oh, she doesn't just go quietly. No way. She doesn't submit. Instead, she fires back with this absolutely brilliant legal and moral challenge that just stops everyone in their tracks. The entire court goes silent.
And this is what's so incredible. Look at her presence of mind here. She's not pleading, she's not begging for mercy. She's fighting back with her intellect. She poses this devastatingly sharp question that basically attacks the entire foundation of the bet. She's questioning the very legitimacy of what just happened.
Yeah, it all comes down to this one single crucial point. Think about it. If Yudhishthira had already lost himself, if he was already a slave, did he even have the right to bet her? I mean, can a slave own anything, let alone a queen? It's a brilliant legal checkmate.
And you can just feel the tension in the room. Faced with this absolute masterstroke of logic, her husband Yudhishthira has nothing to say. He just hangs his head in shame. And the so-called guardians of morality, the great elders who are supposed to uphold Dharma, crickets. They say nothing. And it's in that silence, that vacuum of leadership, that the winner, Duryodhana, decides to take things to a whole new, horrifying level.
So the argument, the legal debate, it just hits a wall. And that's when the whole situation takes a nosedive from a battle of wits to just pure, brutal force. Duryodhana is done waiting around for an answer, especially one he knows he won't like.
You know, the first servant they send is actually too afraid to lay a hand on the queen. So Duryodhana, losing patience, turns to his brother, Dushashana, who is known for being particularly cruel and shameless, and orders him to go get Draupadi. Drag her in here, he says, by any means necessary.
And that's exactly what he does. Dushashana storms into her private rooms. When she tries to run, he grabs her by her hair. And we're talking about hair that had been sanctified in a sacred royal ceremony. It's a massive violation. And he just starts dragging her by her hair all the way to the assembly hall. She's pleading with him, right? She's telling him she's not even properly dressed to be seen in public, let alone in front of all the elders. But Dushashana, he just laughs. He mocks her. And then he throws her down right in the middle of the entire assembly, in front of all these kings and warriors with her clothes all in disarray. It's just a horrific public humiliation.
And as she's there on the floor, he's shouting at her, "Slave! Slave!" Can you believe it? He, Duryodhana, and their friend Karna, they're actually laughing, applauding this whole spectacle. And the rest of the room, most of them, including all those wise elders, are just watching in absolute, horrified silence.
But here's the thing about Draupadi. She is not broken. She gets up and she confronts them. She looks right at the most powerful men in the room, her own teachers, the elders of the court, the very men who are supposed to be the protectors of righteousness, of Dharma. And she demands an answer. Why are you silent? Why are you letting this happen? I mean, she calls them out directly. She tells them they are failing in their most sacred duty. Shame on you, she says. By doing nothing, by saying nothing, you're just as guilty. She tells them their silence, their inaction, has just destroyed the honor of the entire Kuru dynasty. Wow.
And the conflict isn't just in the hall, it's right there among her own husbands. You've got Bhima, who is just volcanic with rage. He literally wants to burn his brother Yudhishthira's hands for what he did. But then you have Arjuna, who's holding him back, saying they still have to obey their elder brother even after all this. The tension is just unbearable.
So finally, the great elder, Bhishma, the grandsire of the whole clan, he finally speaks up. And what does he say? Basically nothing. He offers zero help. He says the ways of morality are subtle and that he's confused. It's like he's caught between following the rules of the game and doing what's obviously right. And in the end, he just cops out. He chooses to do nothing.
But then, just when it seems like all hope is lost, into this total vacuum of moral courage, a hero emerges, and you're not going to believe who it is. It's one of Duryodhana's own brothers.
Yeah, a young prince named Vikarna. He stands up and he bravely makes the case for Draupadi. He just lays it all out, systematically tearing apart the whole bet. He argues Yudhishthira was basically forced into it, that he was addicted to the vice of gambling, and crucially, that he'd already lost himself, so the bet was never valid in the first place. He makes every single point Draupadi was alluding to.
So Vikarna makes his final point. I say that Draupadi has not been won. And the whole assembly explodes in applause. It feels like maybe, just maybe, justice will prevail. But then, the warrior Karna jumps up, and he shuts it all down with this really cynical but powerful argument. He basically says, hey, look around. All the great men, the elders, they're silent. That silence is the verdict. If they thought it was wrong, they would have said something. And just like that, the debate is over. Crushed. Draupadi's brilliant question never gets a real answer. The injustice is just allowed to stand. And this single moment, this profound act of humiliation, plants the seeds of a terrible vengeance, a vengeance that will grow and grow until it erupts into the catastrophic Kurukshetra war. So this whole story really leaves us with a tough, timeless question, doesn't it? It's not just about what the bad guys did, it's about what the good guys didn't do. It makes you ask, what really is the price of silence when you see something wrong happening? What is the devastating cost of inaction?
Well, that's our look into this incredibly powerful story. If you found this explainer helpful, we'd love it if you'd hit that like button, share it with someone who might be interested, and subscribe for more deep dives into these kinds of complex stories. Thanks so much for joining us.